Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series here in Leipzig, Germany, where our first grand finalist has been determined. The German Protoss Showtime topples the American Titan in Neve in a nail-biting 3-2 series. That's right, this is the World Championship Series. I'm your host, Nathanius, joined by some very handsome men over here. We've got Todd and Maynard. Maynard just wrecked me on the prediction for that last match. I'm gonna go to you, Todd. Make me feel better. Tell me something nice. How are you doing? How did you enjoy the first series of the day?
It was very close, to be honest. Could have been anybody's game. I think it's so easy, especially after Showtime wins game one, to say like, oh yeah, Showtime's got this. And then all of a sudden, Neeb's up 2-1. And it's like, okay, Neeb's gonna do it. But then no, like it comes down to the final map. These fights were very close. Even that last fight, looking at it, I was like, okay, I'm feeling good for Showtime, but you never know in PvP what might happen. Just in an instant, you could lose all your units and then that's it. So I don't think you made a bad prediction, Nate. Do you feel better?
No, I don't. Maynard, Zealots are better than Stalkers in head-to-head engagements, as we saw at the end of that last series.
Yeah, I mean, Stalkers in the later stages of PvP really are questionable in value. That's why so many people want to go for those charge lots, those Immortals, those Archons. They just have more punch.
Let me rephrase.
And also the upgrades were a big deal as well.
They're the worst units in the late game PvP, the Stalkers. They do nothing.
As a Terran player, I'm just traumatized in other ways. But we do have another... Yeah, we do have another great match coming your way up next. It's going to be a Terran versus Zerg. So for those of you who've had your fill of the Protoss memes, we've got a special helping for you of Serral versus SpeCial. And this one should be an amazing series. We got to see some great games out of both of these players yesterday, showing the range in the long games, the short games. That's kind of what we expect out of both of these players. They're both known for being very solid and capable of every play style.
Yeah, and they've met a bunch of times in the past as well. SpeCial actually has a great winning record. They've met 3 times. He won all of those 3 times, including last year in Austin in the round of 8 with a 3-1 win.
Yeah, and as we saw, Serral had a really good run coming all the way up through this tournament, defeating the likes of Masa. He has had matches. Both of these players have actually played this respective matchup already in the tournament on stage. We know they're capable of going very far in this tournament, Maynard.
Yeah, Serral's been crushing the last half of this bracket. Like he's been looking very convincing in his games. Of course, this is a different guy. This is SpeCial we're talking about, the highest placing foreigner from the WCS Global Playoffs, and really like a late game TVZ god. That said though, we said that about SpeCial Snoot, and that one got weird.
Yeah, I feel like anybody that doesn't try to all-in Snoot, if you let the game go long, it always gets weird, I
mean, the games did kind of go long, but what SpeCial did was...
And he also had some weird builds as well.
Yeah, the ghost thing on Catalyst.
Yeah, we got to see some very interesting strategies out of SpeCial.
But like, I think that SpeCial's real strategy in those games was really, really great. Like, he would actually not let Snoot spiral out of control. He was always destroying hatcheries, denying hatcheries, expansions, killing drones, and never letting Snoot get to that hive point very comfortably.
We talked about this as well, like in the replay that we might be able to see there, where SpeCial is attacking with a lot of tanks, and he has to fight against Ultras. There is a bunch of Queens behind them that have 0 energy. And that was only because SpeCial just kept on fighting. He forced the screens to transfuse all the time. There was never a point where Snoot got to a high Ultra count with mass transfuses behind, in which case he might have been able to do a whole lot better. So really looking forward to this one. Like, these two are basically potentially, outside of Korea, the best Zerg and the best Terran. And I think they have a lot of respect for one another, and they always put on a good show when they play.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting series, to say the least. SpeCial, the last player representing North America in this tournament, going up against Serral. We did get a chance to talk with both of these gentlemen as well before their semifinal match. Here's what they had to say coming into day 3.
That's a much better connection there for Serral, and the Medevac's in trouble as well.
That was exactly what Serral was looking for.
I'm very happy that I'm in the semifinals. I think my shape's actually very good right now. I have been doing good against all of the races. Now I'm actually really confident in myself, and I think I can do this.
16 SCVs and then some going down. It's the entire mineral line of saturation. Oh! The CC picked up for the anti-air. GG!
I'm pretty excited to win the semifinals. I really hope I can win. Serral is a scary good player, like very, very good player. Last time we played an official tournament was in Austin. Now he's better, and now I'm better too. But I don't really fear anyone.
I think SpeCial is the best non-Korean Terran by far. It would be a very even match and a good match, and hopefully I can take it.
So I hope this time he loses so I can be in the final.
Good luck, have fun.
a very special Terran player coming here to compete in the semifinals.
Thanks, BDB.
And I got you. I got you. Both of these players, so good, so very highly regarded by everyone else in this tournament. They're not the kind to do the smack talking, but everybody coming in here says Serral, he's been on the up and up. He's an extremely good player. Special, the foreigner that made it the furthest to the global finals last year.
Yeah, it's an incredibly hard one to predict because they are both so powerful in their preferred play styles. Like, you know, they want the mech games, the later games. Serral wants that as well. He looked incredibly... Serral looked almost infallible against, like, aggressive bio play when he was facing Masa. And Masa is no slouch. Masa is damn good, but Special is a different level.
Very excited to see how this one shapes up. We'll be diving a little bit more into it in a second. But our players are ready to be introduced on the main stage by Anna Prosser-Robinson. How excited are we to get into some TVZ, the last two races to be represented now in this tournament?
Oh, I'm so excited, Nate. I love watching this matchup, and I think our crowd does too. Am I right? They seem pretty excited.
They seem pretty hyped for this TVZ.
Yes. They've been hype all day. They've got to save their energy because we're getting close to the finals. This next semifinal match will determine what's going to happen. And you know, up here on stage, we're always looking for a little bit of trash talk. We like to make the story, but this match is marked by manner. These two players have both expressed multiple times how much they really respect each other's play, but also how confident they are. SpeCial, in fact, said, "I don't fear anyone," which is a pretty strong statement. And Serral said, you know, he would have preferred to play Snoot, but when SpeCial won, he said, I'm confident against him as well. So neither one feeling any fear, both respecting their opponents. I cannot wait to watch them face off. So now, please welcome Serral and SpeCial!
An amazing second semi-final here, a best of 5 between two extremely good macro players. I think you just said it best, Maynard. The way that these two players' styles go up against each other, this should be one hell of a series to tune into. I'm hoping for and expecting the long game, some good drawn-out mech, and just really both players really taking it to the late game.
Yeah, I mean, SpeCial is known for how good he is with tanks, with mech units, you know, longer games as well. Like, he's become so much better than in the past at those. Serral, he's good with the hive tech, and in particular when you start taking a lot of bases, he's really one of those Zergs that's one of the scariest on planet Earth. So regarding that, like if we were to see some of these games, I think he's gonna get crazy, because as much as Serral played against Masa and won, and we had SpeCial play against Snoot and winning, like these guys play very differently, I think stylistically. Like here, I feel like it's only a recipe for amazing games, the way that these guys like to play in the matchup.
Yeah, I feel like that's what the viewers would be feeling at home. Do either of you have any opinions on which of these two gentlemen has a better shot against Showtime in the final?
Oh, you know what? I actually think both of these players could easily win this tournament. I think not easily. I mean, Showtime is not an easy opponent.
You say they have an even chance.
Yeah, the 3 players remaining, either one of them could pick this. It's incredibly hard to predict who wins this tournament. But personally, for this series, I think that SpeCial wins the series. But very, very close, 3-2.
I think Serral maybe might have a better shot, but I'm not sure. I think, like, Maynard is perfectly right. Any one of the 3 players left in this tournament, and even with me before, there would have been 4, has a good chance to win the tournament and do well. That's what makes it so interesting as well. There's not going to be any one-sided matches, in my opinion.
And I think one of the cool parts, at least about this, is that we are going to have a new WCS champion, which feels weird to say because it was just Neeb last year and a laser. And
He'll be back. He'll win the next 3.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think a lot of people expect to see Neeb and a laser moving forward throughout the rest of the year. But Serral and SpeCial should be an awesome match. It is ready to go. I hope you all at home and here in Leipzig have been having a great time watching the World Championship Series. It's time for SpeCial versus Serral.
All right, it is time for a TVZ. I am Zombie-Grub, and I'm casting with Wardy for the very first time, I believe. Is that right?
It is. And what a match it is for our first time, as we are going into one heck of a TVZ here between 2 titans of the WCS circuit.
They certainly are. Very excited to see how it plays out. You know, SpeCial showing us some very odd tactics against Snoot, and Serral just looking so just good in this matchup against Masa. But we are loaded into game number 1 in the bottom right as the blue Zerg. Give it up for Serral.
We do have to the top left-hand side here on Neon Violet Square, the red Terran player. it is SpeCial.
All right, two conflicting regions here. Europe versus North America, always a classic. But who will go on to face Showtime, representative for Germany? It's a pretty perfect time for him to be in the finals. It will be a PVT or PVZ. This series is going to tell us. And as I said, it should be a really great one. I do feel like Serral got a bit more information from SpeCial's series, his TVZ, than the other way around. But, well, you know, maybe SpeCial already knows a little bit more about Serral anyways from behind the scenes digging.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because I really feel as though the builds that SpeCial came out with yesterday against Snoot weren't just your standard, oh yeah, I'm going to try this one that Snoot's seen a few times before. They were like very well picked out for each map. There was a Ghost Rush build order, there was that Liberator range, and those are things which Serral will now look at and be like, okay, well, I'm going to look for that. I'm going to scout for that throughout this series and make sure I'm not going to get caught off guard by any of these things which SpeCial used to take advantage of Snoot yesterday.
Certainly did, yeah. Now, the games yesterday with SpeCial Snoot, they were all a little on the long side. Of course, Snoot being well known for his defensive properties, getting to that hive tech, and then really feeling like he's in his groove. Perhaps some critique him seeing that he even lacks a bit of bloodlust. Serral, I don't fault him. I don't think that he has that fault or anything like that. But what I do think he has is some weird tenacity, magic shenanigans to survive even the worst mid games. He'll lose hatcheries, he'll lose drones, he'll lose queens, and then he'll somehow bring it back anyways.
We saw it yesterday as well. Serral against Massa was not an easy one for Serral, even though we thought it would be. Massa pushed him, and at points Massa looked as though he should have won the game. But Serral just refused to die, as we do see SpeCial. Well, he just has such a kind of great style of his own. It's something that we haven't really seen too much of that's kind of become a new thing, which is just mass expand and just attack, 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 and never stop. So really interested to see how Serral will try and deal with that here in this series as well. These early game build orders are not really too crazy at all just yet.
No, they aren't. Oh, well, okay, you spoke a little too soon. You got a proxy starport. I thought he was also looking for something like usually hidden lings at that time for that SCV scout. Of course, there was a proxy hatch from Serral in his last series, but I think that was a little too late for that. But no, it was for a proxy starport. There aren't usually many reasons, honestly, to proxy a starport versus a Zerg player. You can usually successfully deflect scouts on at least an armory, and then if they do scout the tech lab or the lack of tech lab, it's not like the worst thing in the world. And then what timing are you really looking for getting 10 seconds, maybe even that, faster into their main base? But if it's a drop and they're not expecting it, they're thinking the Hellen's going to the front, well, that could be a big deal.
Yeah, it's definitely one way to maybe get around Serral's early game defense, sneak in and get a few kills early, just grab him a little bit off guard, as right now, Serral just looking to get a couple lings into the natural, maybe get an SCV or so, and also we see SpeCial poking at the front, but there is Hellions back at home, and well, it delays these Hellions getting across for just a moment or so, which is actually a bigger deal than it might usually be, because now that Medevac is popping and those Hellions are already meant to be inside of it.
Yeah, the Neon Violet Square, very odd for attacking with Hellions, even more so than other maps, because there are two entrances into that natural, so Ling run bys at the perfect time. You can really snap back at someone who uses their Hellions out on the map, which of course SpeCial is doing, but Serral has not set anything up. He has no idea that this is on the way, and Hellions will be dropping into that main base. They avoid the Overlord, I believe that's a little more south. This is coming actually at the last second that Serral can see it. It's even being dropped off before he can see it. Here come the Hellions now. The drones line up and already 5 go down.
This is not good for Serral because that's 9 workers without anything gained in return. Usually you dive in and you get 10 workers, like, well, at least you killed the Hellions, but no, that's not the case here. As we see Serral throwing down the Bane Nest to deal with further aggression as the Armory coming up here. SpeCial will be looking for Hellbats behind this. The Liberator too, he's going to keep this pressure going in these early stages of Neon Violet Square.
I think it's pretty smart of Serral. Sometimes it is the smarter move to say like, oh, that was my bad, I let the Hellions through, but I'm just going to drone and kind of recover. But in this case, I think it's very likely that SpeCial would go into factory play on this map, and then the follow-up of a maybe Serral would know would proxy medevac is typically like the Banshee follow-up, the Hellbat follow-up, like something to get really aggressive. It is the Liberator start things off, but then perhaps the Hellbats, there they are, but right next to the Banelings.
Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward little spot there as those Banes are going to get ready to go in a moment or two. Hellions dive for the third base as well, but that's where the Queens are. As so, ooh, those drones though stacking up a little bit. He does clean up the Hellbats in the main base, so a bit of a mess on each side of this attack from both players. Some drones going down, some Hellbats being killed. I mean, Serral is still struggling a little bit though in that worker count.
He certainly is, but it was a really nice call to get those banelings, not just the banelings, but also to pre-morph them. Otherwise, those Hellbats in the main base would have been a lot more difficult to deal with. But the proxied starport comes back home, takes an odd location to add its reactor, but they fly, so it's no big deal. And it is going to be Stim and additional barracks on the way.
Yeah, the bio play here from SpeCial. I mean, I'm not surprised he's playing bio. He played it plenty yesterday, but it just feels sometimes when you go into so many Hellions early and you've got yourself that armory coming up as well, kind of late on, it's like, well, are we about to see that mech play starting to roll on through? SpeCial says no, not here on Neon Violet Square. And we have seen a lot of the Terran players on these larger maps saying, well, you know what, if I play bio, I can drop around a lot. And once I'm done dropping, I'm getting into Ghosts and Liberators, and that late game on larger maps can really play out well for me with how effective those units can be.
Since our question about mech versus bio was answered, the next question would be, what exactly does SpeCial do? Because in the mid game, especially when you go bio anyways, is really when the Terran controls kind of how the flow of things go about. Serral can, of course, go for like link counterattacks and odd Bane bust timings, but I wouldn't put that on him. It's SpeCial. Is he really dropping a lot? Is he harassing a lot? Is he pushing? Does he try and rally push on such a large map? Probably not, but it could happen. Or does he just mass expand and really accept the late game fate that TVZ often goes to?
It's also going to be interesting in this game, especially just to see what Serral wants to do. You'd expect right now a Hydralisk Den to be thrown down, but he isn't in the best of positions in economy, so maybe he has to slow down his tech here. Right now it is just Ling Bane, and there is builds that can avoid going into anything beyond the Baneland Nest for quite a long time. You can go straight to Hive and play maybe straight in towards Ultras, or sometimes even Aspire for Corruptors. So there's a few different choices here from Serral, as for now he'll just go melee upgrades, but they are quite far behind the Terrans. One of the, well, repercussions of that lacking early game for himself.
We've got a bit of a Baneling run by. SpeCial has shown on this map he likes to take that forward middle base, which is a little bit of an oddity. Some people like that left one. But the attack hits without combat shields, without 1-1, but it is powerful. It's got that stim, it's got the evacuation of the medevac. So really nicely done. I think this really surprised Serral, who loses a lot of creep spread.
Oh, and look at this, SpeCial still has units at home as well, so there's a little bit of a Bane run by, does absolutely nothing, trying to come in with the Liberator at the same time. SpeCial's all over the place, got some Hellbats at the front to tank here as well, but the Banes are starting to roll on in and they are connecting. SpeCial has to lift up and leave.
Get rid of those Hellbats, not such a big deal, but yeah, save the Marines. 2 medevacs still flying around. The anti-air is not going to be defendable ever, really. Not when you go for Hydras, as Mutas are kind of out of the matchup right now, and there's a lot of dead space around the main that he can abuse. Not at this point in time. Serral does seem to have his bases on lockdown from the earlier Hellion attacks. Ling's now dealing with this one.
Yeah, this drop is still picking off a fair few of these Lings, and he's actually going to lift up and get out of there before the Banelings arrive, of course. So I guess that answer from earlier is being, or a question from earlier is being answered now. SpeCial is just dropping around, trying to keep Serral busy until maybe something towards a 2-2 time. Maybe he's keeping track of when that Hive is starting up as well, so he can attack before the Ultralisks are coming out, before that later game switch, when the Zerg just is naturally a bit more vulnerable.
If you can get 2-2 and a decent number of tanks, that is a very nasty push. But SpeCial is going for something even better. He immediately adds on 2 factories, but that's because his third CC was saturated so quickly and so perfectly. He already had so many SCVs that he can certainly afford this, and triple tank production will be difficult to deal with.
Yeah, he's going to have so many siege tanks here. It just means he can trade so well, and even if he loses a couple, man, he's going to have so many more just rolling on out. And that's going to be huge for him, as again, just distracting the Zerg player here and there with a drop. For now, as we are going to be seeing the Hydras are starting to come out as well here from Serral. His infestation just now coming down. This is going to be a really late Hive. And all of this just stems back to the earlier stages of the game. Serral did not have a great start. He lost 9 drones right off the bat, and it was messy from there, having to deal with further aggression of the Terran player.
His tech might reflect that, but I think he's really gaining back control over the game with this amazing creep spread. The drops have been mostly focused trying to get a couple of cheeky snipes on maybe an evolution chip or something, or of course drones. And they're not doing that. And because they're not doing that, they aren't bothering to clean up creep, which is about halfway through. SpeCial tried just now, and Serral probably already has queens over there planning back down.
It's going to be seeing the creep pushing through like crazy in the center of the map. SpeCial is just not able to get rid of enough of it as the queens, well, can get pushed back a little bit here, but there's still all that creep to the south side, and Serral's actually taking the gold base as well, so he's going to start mining from that soon. These Banes don't quite hit their targets, though. Those Marines are staying alive, and the Hydras are just a little bit too fragile to really get involved in that fight.
I would have 100% panicked and run away, but that ended up being enough Marines to take out a large number of Banelings, even with a little bit of creep spread. A nice call out by SpeCial, who is just expanding like relatively fast. He's waiting for a higher tank count. Want to wait for those 2-2. And if he gets sight on the main base and confirms like, okay, that Hive still isn't done, he'll still have a very good push prior to Ultras or perhaps even Vipers, depending on how fast Serral chooses to go for the.
This is sort of the TV's era I was expecting to see yesterday between SpeCial and Snoop, but just Snoop never seemed to get set up into that later stage on a comfortable high work account for a long time. But that's exactly what Serral's been able to do. Get up to the 5 bases, few ling run-bys here and there, looking around the map, and both of them are really heading into the later stages. With that Hive now finishing, you know, SpeCial will begin to push, but he's going straight into Viper's Serral, and so that should give him enough to hold off these tanks.
I really like that he gets the Vipers first. I think SpeCial, used to be known as Major, SpeCial does go for a lot of factories pretty early on. He's definitely showed that yesterday. And Vipers first are going to help. It's also going to make SpeCial have to really slowly leapfrog forward as opposed to just sieging up his tanks whenever he realizes, oh no, I'm being attacked.
One of the big weaknesses of SpeCial yesterday was actually when he did just get caught off guard in a fight or two, and his tanks were so stacked up that 1 or 2 blind clouds really turned what should be a lost fight for the Zerg into a 1-1. As those tanks are now sieged up, plenty of time ahead though, and they will push this back. Still loving these Liberators though as well, just keeping Serral busy, slowing down the mining here and there, just slowing down Serral from building up a big bank and being able to remax instantly after a fight.
That Ultra Scaven's done, but you want to wait for the kindness plating before taking any engagements. And SpeCial, while it is a slow crawl across the creep, it is happening. Big Ling attack on the 4th base, which SpeCial tried to repair, decided not to, went back, but that surrounded the Lings. Oh, he actually pulls away. I thought he was going to get that. The SCVs were repairing.
I think it's because the Lings got full surround, so he couldn't repair, but then a couple of them went down as the planetary finished, and so the SCVs got back on it, so it wasn't quite dying. It was super close, though. Either way, it was a tough call as well. That's a little bit of a shame for Serral, but at least he stops a mine, I suppose, for a little while. He still has to deal with this attack as we're going to be seeing SpeCial getting very close to that gold base, but it looks as though Serral feels as though it's time to go.
He is swapping a 270 Concave, basically, and those tanks were so stacked up that a couple blinding clouds means that they stopped dealing damage when finally the army was in range. Exactly what they would want to have done, but that was an amazing fight for Serral. Takes a major supply lead. He is on his way to Hive Tech upgrades as well. Adrenal Glands and Chitinous Plating held off on the 3-3, but I think I like these combos first, along with the Vipers, better than +3 attack and web.
Yeah. That Chitinous Plating, that Adrenal Glands is going to do so much for him here, and that's going to be so great. This was possibly the worst time in the game for SpeCial to lose a fight, because now all of a sudden he's down on supply, just as Ultras are coming out, and he doesn't really have much anti-Ultra tech. Okay, the tanks actually do a great job of maybe keeping Ultras back a little bit. It's going to be tough with those Vipers involved as well. There is Liberators here. There just isn't enough for SpeCial. Serral is positioned on the top side, but also far to the left with a lot of units.
Even though he lost 6 tanks, though, with that triple factory production, 10 tanks, and this time spread, he realizes Blinding Clouds will be a factor, are trying to hold his planetary, but he had re-sieged them, so they're once again a little clumped up. 2 go down a Blinding Cloud, but Lings, more importantly, into that natural base. They do have those Adrenal Gland upgrades, which means they don't only tear through SCVs, they also can tear through buildings.
But he kills 10 SCVs. At the same time, he lost 11 drones. The harassment has been non-stop from SpeCial, and he's keeping up now, still later into this game. He's continuing to stop Serral from just mining non-stop and getting into, again, that huge bank that Zergs can really work with. Now SpeCial does have an upgrade lead once again. You mentioned that Serral was delaying his final set of upgrades here. And with SpeCial having those finished, it will just give him the slight edge on those fights, and those Ultras will actually take damage where they can start falling.
Well, SpeCial, I don't know about moving out into the middle of the map with such a low supply. I mean, I would even be very cautious of it if it was maxed out supply with some good units. But he seems to want to continue the pressure. Don't let Serral get comfortable. Don't let him get that bank you're talking about. But it's kind of already happening. I mean, 6 bases, is it? And gold base, 2. Actually, 7, I think. And just so much, still so much creep after the tax beforehand. It's still there. It's still helpful.
It is a real time to push into towards the middle because he's starting to get up in towards Ghosts, and they take a little while to build. They're not very cheap at all, so it's a big chunk of his income or resources that are just going into units that are not immediately going to help out. He's starting to get some across the map now, but I really feel those Ghosts work better in much higher numbers than what he currently has. So, bit of an interesting moment as Serral's going to take the opportunity to move on through a couple Blinding Clouds to lead his way into this, and those Ultras leading the charge as well.
Banelings do roll in a couple of tanks, and the tank spread are just so good that SpeCial ends up trying to trade, but Serral with the remax. It didn't look like a really good trade. When you look at the supplies, it's almost maxed to 100. Ghosts not able to get their snipes they were looking for as they weren't protected. And that was, again, a great trade, a great engagement for Serral.
Again, I just think, why would you be there right now, especially, or in that transitionary period of going in towards super late game, getting them Ghosts up, getting up into Liberators and so on, And those really do work well when you hit super late game and you get lots of them. And he has the bases to do that as well. He didn't need a pressure right here. This was his moment to sit back, maybe a drop or two, but this was a little bit of a mistake, I think. And he's being punished for it, as now we still have some Lings running around here and there, and Serral just keeping up. But maxed out, Serral will be looking for another fight here very shortly.
That Greater Spire is going to be quite good for Serral. There's a bomb and an abduct, there you go. Takes care of the medevac, but while the Vipers have been doing a great job with the concave, Serral, you can't really fault him on his engagements. Broodlords will make it even easier, as SpeCial is still investing a lot into tank production, you know? Like, it's already been a little weird with the past, I would say the last fight I wouldn't have expected tanks, but especially the one upcoming, still having tanks at this point, you're asking to get Broodlords.
Yeah, it's really difficult. We see those Banes are connecting on Marines in the backside. There's a couple of nice snipes will go down on the Vipers, but Serral just had so many Vipers. He had about 6 or 7, I think, going into that. And okay, now he only has 3 left, but the Banelings coming into this planetary forest. Goodbye, SCVs. You're not meant to mine here anymore.
Oh, why would you go back? You're not going to save it. I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. 8 SCVs go down. SCVs off to the right side, I guess, also were perhaps hotkeyed or something like that. They stopped mining for a little while, and Serral does a nice bit of economic damage, as SpeCial is desperately trying to get to a good supply. I don't even know if Max is really in his future, but maybe 180, that would be okay. But this is not looking great. Serral just keeps on taking the better trades.
Look at SpeCial's gas bank, right? It's just non-existent. How are you even meant to build Unistyle going to go up against the Ultralisk, the Vipers, and eventually Broodlords here? I just don't think you do. I mean, Serral obviously feels as though he just has enough anyway with Ling, Bane, Hydra, a couple Ultras along the way as he comes up to the top side. Those tanks are in the back lines. Is this going to be something that SpeCial can work with right now as we see those Banes rolling on through?
The Vipers aren't even really a part of this beginning fight, but it didn't matter. The supply was really just too good. Banelings roll into the Ghost as well. A couple of them are left over, but what? They're going to snipe some Banelings? GG. Serral takes game number 1.
What a game by Serral. I mean, it started off not so great for him, and SpeCial took advantage of that. He said, okay, you lost a few drones early, I'm going to keep up. He was in a good position, but it's what we saw from Serral against Massa, that resilience, that ability to just stay alive and to make positions that should not work for him turn into fantastic late-game scenarios where he's just dominating the map.
It's really quite cool that we had 2 TVZs for these guys beforehand to really reflect on what they've been doing up until today. And it's true, like, this is what Serral was good at versus Massa. Massa got into a decent position early game, and then it didn't matter. And he was also a little too aggressive at weird points. Whereas SpeCial being, you know, you heard it from Serral, one of the, if not the best non-Korean Terran, I wouldn't have expected that, but it worked against Snoot. So maybe that's where SpeCial's like, okay, hold up here. Like, this is Serral, it's a bit of a different beast. He survives this relentless aggression. Like, I got to rethink my strategy.
That's what's so scary, right? Because when SpeCial got ahead yesterday, he didn't let it slip from there. And yet Serral's just like, yeah, I'm just making you, you know, look like every other Terran player I've played so far. Which is scary, as you say, best non-Korean Terran. And I think in TVZ especially, you can definitely give him that title because this guy, he kills in TVZ. He loves this matchup. It's big, it's macro, and that's what he's always been very well known for.
It's really tough to pinpoint I would say the beginning of the game, right? SpeCial, great job with the Hellion harassment. That's you can't fault him for that one. Mid game still was okay, but that's really where the question mark is for me. You know, late game there were tons of bad fights, and we already talked about that. But the mid game, was there anything specifically wrong with how he played? I mean, he wanted to hit before Hive, and he had 2-2 and a ton of tanks. Like, that doesn't sound like a bad idea, but it ended up being a bad idea.
Whereas those tanks being just stacked up a little bit once again, right? And he had so much time to spread them out, but 2 Blinding Clouds hit every single siege tank. And that was the end of the pre-Hive timing, and suddenly from there, well, I mean, at that point, I guess it wasn't a pre-Hive time because there was Vipers out, but he just took so long in the middle of the map trying to push in towards the gold. I mean, that's just a combination of Serral having so much creep spread, being so good at just poking forwards and just slowing SpeCial down from attacking. So, really just excellence here from Serral to get ready. But game number 2 with a 1-0 lead in this best-of-5 semi-final. The last time these two clashed in WCS, it did go SpeCial's way, and Serral turned it around from that clash in Austin to take himself into another WCS Grand Final.
It is game number 2 on Backwater, one of our new maps in the top left. Just taking that game. It is the Blue Zerg, Serral.
To the bottom right-hand side, he's going to have to find something a little bit different to get back in this series. Our Red Terran player is SpeCial.
think you're ultimately right about the blinding cloud. It was the pre-hive timing until it wasn't. But we're not going to have to worry about mid-game, perhaps, depending on how SpeCial does his early game harassment again. I mean, 10 drones was pretty good. If he could maybe double that, then he would put himself in an even easier position. He's not going for anything cheeky here. Forward wall off with a single barracks, just a wall. Make sure the command center can't be poked and prodded by Lings.
I think what was so great from Serral was after he lost those 9 drones, he didn't really make any other mistakes, because then he did clean out every other Hellion that attacked, and you lost a few more drones along the way, but he picked off everything other than the medevac, basically, and that is really just limiting what SpeCial can do from there. The Liberator didn't do too much either, you know, it was well defended, and it just was the start of Serral beginning to claw his way back into things as the game went by.
That's true.
I was just going to say, like, this map board is very interesting. We're starting on the large maps, like Neon Violet Square, then Backwater, and then we start to get smaller and smaller as the games go on. Blackpink is not quite as big as these last 2 maps, but relatively large and macro-friendly itself. Acid Plant's a bit weirder because it's a bit more choky, and then we end on Catalyst, which is a little bit smaller in general, though definitely one that can go to the macro stages.
I want to say that maybe perhaps SpeCial will be glad to have Catalyst as an ace match, but we saw Serral have the same tenacity, the same weird ability to conquer lost hatcheries against Masa on that map. So
Oh, that was insane.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So I don't know what this guy's weakness is, and SpeCial still has a job to figure it out. Commander does go down factory as well. Still did not go for an early pull of any type, so I mean, get the Marine, try and get the Overlord, but you don't have to worry about those Ling run bys in the mid game, I suppose, which did end up killing quite a few SCVs in the last game.
Yeah, his first Reaper just poking and prodding, dancing with the Zerglings here to start off this game number 2. He's actually going to get a Zerglin kill or 2 because this Queen's not out for a moment or so. Obviously won't get much more than that and has to make its leave, but still nice to pick off an early couple of Zerglings.
Yeah, I would say that really perfection for these guys is losing absolutely nothing. So getting a couple Lings is better for SpeCial, who will want to be scouting that third base and re-scouting the third base to make sure there's drones. That's Serral, known for his Baneling bust, but it's always a worry. That was a successful denial on the Reaper Scout to the main. Queen's very cheekily placed. Did he actually skip a inject for that, or is he totally fine?
I guess he kind of slows down his
okay,
inject a little bit, right? But I feel as though immediately in this game you're not like super lava starved, and it might be that he wants to bring that Queen out for like creeping later on as an extra Queen comes in, so it might not be too terrible for him here. I mean, it's nice to get rid of the Reaper, right? Because that's something he just doesn't have to worry about now, so it's a little bit of a trade-off.
Yeah, it is. You know, if you are going to go for a third base, you figure, as I think as a Zerg, that they're going to scout that unless you kill the Reaper, which then you're like, oh, Terran, you messed up. But otherwise, like, the main base is usually like, okay, why are you in here? You know what I'm doing. Kind of for the most part, but there are certainly tricky builds. Balinus could have gone much, much faster. There could have been a Roach Warren for a weird timing, or in this case, a Lair, but at the same time we have a Lair for a Zerg that's pretty early. We have a fast fusion core for Terran.
So this starts to answer my question as to how SpeCial is going to approach the series. Is he going to go for builds that he went for yesterday a lot, or is he going to completely change up again? This time the answer is yes, he's going to go for the builds he went for yesterday. He went for Fusion Core on this map, he went for the ranged Liberators, and it gave him a huge advantage. Obviously, Serral doesn't really maybe want to get it to that stage. If there's Lair coming down, the Roach Rowan 2 indicates maybe some sort of Nidus attack here already, or maybe just a Roach speed opening, maybe over macro play. Well, could be interesting. I thought initially maybe he's going to try and metagame a bit and just go for the Spires. You will see that Queen. And Ling's picking off that Reaper. It's a very interesting setup, not the most normal of ZvT so far.
Yeah, to see a Lair after 4 minutes, that's no problem. That's actually pretty normal. But to know that it started like 3:30 or something like that, what it was, would have been maybe a head scratcher. I don't know if SpeCial could really tell that slight timing difference, though, is just a single Reaper Scout. And while the Liberators will certainly be good at harassing the bases, the problem with Liberators, even with range, that you can still corrosive bile them down. They have to be in these really quite perfect positions. And it obviously costs so much to do what SpeCial is doing, including getting a third CC, that I am truly scared for SpeCial here. Serral's going for a Nidus Worm.
Yeah, that Nidus network's coming up. The one good thing, though, here for SpeCial is that there isn't much vision on the other side of the map from Serral, so where do you actually Nidus? The Overlord's on around that one last Zerglin that's hitting down. He actually has no way to see this. I guess he said the Overseer across, right? But that takes a little while. Okay, it gives Serral a chance to build up some more roaches, but it also gives SpeCial a chance to maybe figure out what's going on, get in position, get a few more units out, even start harassing with that Liberator.
I do wonder. I said I thought Serral had the better TVZ to watch, and perhaps watching that series, this is his idea of a counter. We'll see how it works out. Often execution is a lot more important than the strategy. So Hellions probably doing a couple Lings, Liberators finally getting into position. And a Viking is limiting the options for the Nidus Storm to be placed down, but it's wherever it goes, it's going to be aggressive, it should be very good, and Special should not have much to defend.
Yeah, it's going to come down in the main base, and he's going to put it down. Just a moment, I think. I'm trying to think where does he put it, just right in the center? I think so, because then you don't have to worry about production. So here we go. I mean, the Liberator can come through, but obviously Queens are going to come in as well, and that Liberator will die pretty quick with transfuses available. And the majority of units out right now for Special is Hellions. That's not going to do a lot against these Roaches.
I love that he just put it down in the middle of the base. The Queens pop out first, as they should for the transfuses, but they don't. Okay, that was kind of close. Transfusing each other for a second there, then getting the Nidus Storm, but all of the Roaches have popped out. No Ravagers are made, so this Liberator is doing quite well with its range. One Queen goes down here, but so many SCVs. The immediate pull was trying desperately to take down the Nidus Storm, did nothing. And I think this is it for Special in game number 2.
Yeah, Serral's just done this perfectly. He kept it hidden enough. He stopped Special from really knowing what's going on. And I think it is a great counter to what Special was doing, because this Liberator, it does some good damage. If the Queens are just transfusing, it's not actually getting any kills. It's not shutting anything down. It's not doing as much as a Siege Tank would do or a Cyclone would do. And those Hellions just don't do enough either. GG! And Serral is dominating this semi-final right now to take a 2-0 lead.
Wow. Serral not just mechanically winning, I would say, in that first game. Better surrounds, better placements, recovery from drone kills early on. But in game number 2, a better strategy. Really thinking about how Special played the last CDZ that he did, and thinking up on the spot of a counter, which it absolutely was. Just there wasn't enough units, even though the unit he had, one Liberator, was okay, it's not enough.
Yeah, it really isn't, especially with like a later Nidus like that. Maybe if you have like one super fast Liberator against like a super early Nidus, it's like, okay, there's not super loads of Queens and transfusions, and it'll help a little bit, but no, the way that he did this with the Fusion Core investment, the Liberator range obviously never really comes into play here, but he picked off like 5 workers in the end. It's just not going to be enough, and Special needs to do something different, but did he use up all of his builds and all of his kind of special strategies to really get himself here into the semifinals against Snoot in the quarters?
Special strats. Now, I think that Special can rely, honestly, on just doing a macro game. I really think that he can.
Yeah, I think so too.
And we're going into Black Pink, which is our older map. I would expect something a little more normal, but certainly not just being punished for a specific strategy in the Liberator range, but also punished for greed there. 3rd CC before additional factories, as he was going for mech. Also double armory, I believe, for extra factories. Now that is about as greedy as you can be. So even if that, you know, the Liberator range aside, I do think that was kind of Serral also smacking Special a little bit on the hand, going like, nope, no fast 3rd CC, don't do that, as I will have a couple builds up my sleeve to kill you if you do.
Well, Blackpink was a map yesterday for Special, which was super kind of macro focused. Let's just play it out. Let's get later on into the game and all of that. See if he's going to have that same sort of mindset here, or if he's going to use what could be his last chance to try something a little bit different once more. I think Serral's got to be feeling good, though. You know, he looked great in a macro game. When he did something a bit different, it worked perfectly. It just feels as though Serral isn't making a mistake right now.
I would say that he's not. The only mistake he was making was some early game defense. You know, wasn't quite comfortable with enough Spore Crawlers and Queens in the very first game, which I believe is why Special probably thought that that same strategy on the same map would have been great. Serral had early game weaknesses, but then Nidus Storm really changed a lot of that. So what do they do in Black Pink? Serral so far not showing many weaknesses against anyone. That's pretty scary. And although everyone, I think, assumed this was going to at least a 3-1, like Special gets a map, to have a 3-0, that would be insane.
I think it would just go to show just how dominant Serral can be. He only dropped 1 map so far this tournament, and that was against Namshar in the ZvZ, and Namshar's looking great in ZvZ as well in that all-Zerg group in the round of 32. Since then, Serral has just looked absolutely unstoppable. Will Special be able to be a block in his way? We'll find out as we are going into Blackpink now in this 3rd game of the series.
All right, could be the last game of the series. Who will face Showtime in the finals? In the top right, as the Blue Zerg, give it up for Serral.
And this could be your last chance to cheer for the Mexican Terran in this tournament, so give it your all if you're cheering on Special.
We gotta have some Terran representatives, some NA representatives in the crowd, something along those lines. I certainly would love to see a Terran in the finals, but to be honest, Serral versus Showtime and Showtime's current form would be very good too.
I really think that whichever of these players goes to the final, we're going to see a lot of games, a lot of great games. But I think Serral Showtime could just be the clash to really determine two players who've been on fire here. But hey, SpeCial isn't out of it yet, and we've seen crazier things happen in the past. 0-2 down. A comeback is definitely possible as we set up here now on Blackpink. But once again, standard openings, no proxies, nothing crazy like that. Serral not going for that cheeky proxy hatch like he opened up with one map against Massa in that series, as he was allowing himself one cheeky game to maybe lose.
Serral can go for the cheese, he can go for the all-ins. Just feels a little more rare, but when he has a plan, it seems to work out well, as we saw last game. Now, I said that SpeCial could, and I think that he will, just go for like a regular macro game, maybe a little bit safer, not the upgrades before production or something along those lines, and just improve on what he hopefully learned in the very first game. I think his mistakes, and I believe he would say so as well, are a little glaring. Like they were something he's like, well, you know, don't clump up my tanks. Easy peasy, like that's already a lot better. Or don't push sub 200 before I really am confident with my army. Like those are things that I think he knows, but in the heat of a moment, in the heat of like a 15-minute game, of course you're going to forget. But you go into game number 3, you've collected yourself, and SpeCial, very good player, also mentally is probably collecting himself. And just, I want to see him just improve on the macro game.
I really think for SpeCial as well, Blackpink will just be easier to execute the things he's tried to do on Neon Violet Square. You know, he's going to be able to push a little bit more easily. He's going to be able to, you know, get into those positions to hit bases without being stopped already. You know, there's not any little pink blockers to make moving tanks around an absolute nightmare, which is always a nice little bonus for the Terran.
Yeah, that is a little obnoxious on Neon Violet Square. Blackpink, right, it's kind of even obvious, you know. Serral goes for, you can go for either one, but he goes for the base to the south, and that puts SpeCial into a kind of diagonal, or even more so diagonal push down the middle. That's right. The question right now is mech or bio. Bio first game, mech second game, even though I didn't really get to see that come to fruition. How about the third game?
Yeah, I mean, anything's really possible here on Blackpink as well. You know, both strategies can work fine. You can play both styles quite effectively. As we do just see for now, TechLab coming up next to a Starport, so it keeps the options open. You can see that Starport going to TechLab and make a Banshee. Sometimes you just do as a bit of a fake out and you just make a Viking, then a Liberator. Sometimes still even the medevac for the drop play to get started as well. But I think we'll definitely see an Armory here in the near future. Probably some sort of Hellbat base attack, just to open up with pressure, force some units out from Serral, and give SpeCial just something to then expand behind.
We mentioned SpeCial's choice of composition, but I was going to say Serral still has a choice too. Ling, Baneling, Hydra, or Roach, and then whatever build follows it, Nidus Worm, Macro, Mike, whatever. But it is going to be Roaches. I honestly was expecting Ling, Baneling, Hydra. I think that, you know, one thing that SpeCial definitely had a lot of experience with yesterday was facing Roaches and Ravagers, something that I feel like Terrans as a whole might feel more comfortable with. You can drop, you don't have to worry about being sniped. I feel like it's a more head-to-head composition than Ling, Baneling, Hydra, which has all these run-bys. And, well, we'll see if SpeCial agrees, if he likes what he sees when he sees the Roach Warren. But there's no more drones on the way, just a couple Lings, and there are a lot of Roaches for this timing.
He just opened up a couple more Overlords as well, so he's really opening his supply to maybe just come across the map and attack very early here. And that could be kind of dangerous if Serral wants to get aggressive. He throws a lair down behind it, maybe some sort of quick follow-up. He's just drawn, so maybe it is just all for safety then in the end. But this was a lot of units here initially just for defensive purposes.
It does look like it's for defensive purposes, and this is going to make him very safe against any Hellbat shenanigans. He could also go into Ravagers if Liberators are giving him a problem, which I don't think is going to be nearly the case in this game. But I was very curious. I was thinking in that Snoot special, wasn't it Blackpink where Snoot did go for the Roach?
Yeah, that's what I was just starting to think as well. I was thinking, well, is Serral kind of picking up strap from Snoot here? He's going to see those Roaches fighting Hellions in the center of the map. That's a nice pickup or two. And yeah, Serral, SpeCial, I think you're oohing at the lack of stim.
Well, okay, I was at that as well, but no, I was oohing at like, maybe those are defensive and maybe those were fake. Maybe he really is just like reading and playing SpeCial like a fiddle, being like, yeah, I'm totally like Snoot, I'm totally attacking you. But this reveal in the main base of the layers is going to go ahead and get rid of those worries, and honestly, SpeCial didn't really overreact. He's still building Hellions, and Banshees would have helped, even if there was a serious Ling follow-up to this. Yeah. Oh, that's not a wall.
No, that's not quite a wall, but I had to find it out now than later, isn't it? That we're going to be seeing these Roaches going to get taken down anyways. So Special did cancel that stim. It was just a fake out for the Overlord Scout, and that means he is going to be playing mech here. So gonna actually maybe get to see the mech mid in later game and get to see just how Serral approaches that now, as it's a completely different composition to what we've seen him playing against before.
Yeah, of course the Banshee reveal, so Serral has to get some mobile detection. So we're only do so much, and there is, especially with Special's micro, a large chance of him losing queens to some Hellion Banshee micro, and if there's Hellbats, which the armory is done. Only one armory, so for the Hellbat push, for only +1 weapons, so we do have that extra production. He got away with a 3rd CC on location, which I'm not even sure Serral was able to scout. Those roaches went right to the natural after all.
Yeah, they dove straight on in just to keep chasing the Hellions down and to just do as much as they could before the Banshee got rid of them. So the Banshees do for now pick up 1 drone, but the Queens are well positioned and an Overseer is out to keep pushing them away. +1 missile attack and roach speed on the way. Maybe this is just a very good read from Serral saying, you know, if I play roaches early, I feel like he's going to play mech on this map. And so if I can realize that, then I'm going to get myself set up nicely into how I want to play against mech.
This is really nice. I mean, these are pure ling or mineral-based units for both players, but they get a surround against Hellions. It's just not supposed to happen, basically. So kind of a cool trade there for Serral. And I agree with you. I think Blackpink, most maps, I believe, are mech playable. It's not like some metas we've had where it's really only one map or another. But I feel like I see a lot of Terrans play mech on this map, and Serral could have just simply called that. Double upgrades, catching another group of Hellions, just deflecting pressure every which way and getting a great macro game behind it.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing the Hive coming right up from Serral. He isn't slowing down at all. Also, the Hive does dance, so you can go into sort of a Roach Hive composition. And also straight into the Spire, so looking as though he may just want to go straight towards Broodlords as well, which we have seen mech players to some extent struggling with sometimes. We've seen multiple times Terran players just without the anti-air to really fight against this.
That is a very quick Ghost Academy.
That is a very quick Ghost Academy, actually.
Also, it's also a Ghost Academy when you go in mech. We'll talk about that in a second as Hellions do run by a lot of roaches going to the main base. Very important, not just for the drone kills, he's gonna grab a couple, but for the Scout, Hive plus Spire, so you know Greater Spire is in mind. But that's where the Ghost Academy is gonna be a real trick. I mean, you're not gonna be able to get as many ghosts as you would, even with the second bears coming down. 2 at a time is not that fast. But you know, whether it's a nuke that just starts a harassment game for him, or it is 8 or 9 ghosts to snipe Broodlords, they are great at that. They're good anti-Broodlord defense if you can stop them from being touched.
Yeah, it's a cool little thing that you don't usually see with mech, just introducing the ghosts early, and I think it is just realizing that ghosts can be very powerful, and if you can get some up, I mean, they don't really need the bio upgrades or whatever else. Like, you don't have to play bio to go into ghosts, it's just that usually it's convenient, and they are quite expensive, so it's difficult to afford mech and ghosts as these Hellions picking up 9 workers. But as it is for now, Special is going to get turned away with just the 9 kills.
I was quite panicked when I saw those drones bunch up like that. But at this point, Serral comfortably at 80 workers would have only been cut down to 70, or like instant reinforcements of drones there. Not too bad, even as the Hellions once again perhaps get into that drone line. But there's not an immediate follow-up here. It's really scary when the Zerg player takes 20, 30... I don't know about drones against Hellions, Serral. I don't know. Okay, there's the roaches. It's one thing for the Zerg player to lose 20, 30 drones, re-drone, and then bam, there's the push with mech, and you don't have an army. But for this circumstance, even after 18 drones go down, they're in by Special. I think Serral is still comfortable with what he's doing, but that could be because he doesn't know about the ghosts.
I mean, the ghost just slows Special down as well, though, right? Because he doesn't have as much of a pushing army right away, which obviously means he's happy to just sort of sit back and let it go in towards Broodlords, and he's going to say, well, that's fine, because I have an answer to the Broodlords in the form of ghosts that you don't usually have. So it really is a very different style of mech versus Zerg that we haven't seen before, but you know, so far, Serral is kind of happy too, and I don't think Serral necessarily wants or needs to attack before his Broodlords come up. He's just going to have to play this super late game.
Well, there's the Scout on the Ghost, if there wasn't one beforehand, and this, what does it really change for Serral, who's now also going for some economic damage? I mean, you can include some fungals just so that they tap the Ghost and the snipe is canceled, but I feel like he just maybe unclumps the Vipers as well. I'm still mostly worried about Serral just swamping Special's army with a big ol' surround than I am about these high-tech units, the Ghost versus the Broodlords.
Going to be a little bit of an interesting position here as already Serral's hatchery up to the top side is taking some damage. Starting to fall down a little bit here, and well, Special gets himself in position to the top side as he snipes the Broods before they're even finished. At least some of them. There's 1 or 2 already in the back.
The Vipers are still pretty darn good, though. And the EMPs could have gone down. He did just use all of the energy. So I think that was still, it was a very smart decision, first of all, by Serral to go ahead and just abandon ship on that base. And then I think he was okay losing the Broodlords as long as there wasn't more coming, more ghosts with EMPs, more of a tank push. Especially, obviously, just disengages these.
We're going to be seeing these ghosts just coming in, picking off a couple of creep teamers as Broodlords coming forward, and we're just going to see the siege tank getting picked away at it as well. So Serral is able to clean this up. Okay, a base taken down, but he's already continuing to expand down to the south side. His creep's still good in the middle, so, you know, the heart of his bases is not really a threat here at all. Even snipes a couple of Hellions, especially does try to poke forward to see what's up. Queen's already in location, as this Liberator is not going to stand much of a chance at all, no matter where you take it. Wow, just gets in towards the natural, but okay, I guess for now there's not a Queen there, but it's super low. Should not really be able to do much more.
We do have Smart Service on the way for SpeCial. That will allow his Hellions to transform quicker for some nicer harassment, as well as his Thors, as Thor's usually the late game answer to Broodlords when you don't have ghosts. But really, SpeCial skipped a step here, I want to say. There wasn't a big old push, well there was, but only to the hatchery. That wasn't game ending. And we usually see ghosts, if we see them at all in this type of game, at like 20 minutes, you know, like the mech players really scratching their head trying to think of what they do, so they're like, okay, what about some nukes, what about some snipes? But he's kind of skipped the mid game, so we already have ghosts at 12 minutes.
Yeah.
He's adding on a ton of command centers, and Serral is just deflecting Hellions, not so much worried about a big push.
It's actually kind of funny, 12 minutes in game and we are kind of into the tech compositions that you'd expect to see kind of 20 minutes in, maybe kind of being completed. Okay, there's still a few roaches on the map and a lot of Hellions as well, but just the acceleration of those ghosts, the Broodlords coming up straight away from Serral. Both of these guys are so happy to play this late from the get-go, as we're going to be seeing just other important upgrades coming through, such as that advanced ballistics just helps with the Liberators, and just mass expansions right now from SpeCial. If you can keep Serral away from bases, obviously that works quite nicely too.
Yeah. Get the Liberator range. It's going to be interesting. +1 armor is interesting to see too on the bio. What the heck? That's another big push out with a lot of Hellions this time. Roaches even getting destroyed by Blue Flame. SpeCial is looking to just make sure that Creepstar doesn't get too insane, which honestly, for sometimes you see versus mech, they fail one push and then suddenly the creep just explodes. It's like on their fifth, basically. I think that the anti-creep spread game here is really nice for SpeCial.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job, right? I mean, it's just about halfway through the map in the center, but it really is lacking a little bit to the top side, a little bit to the south, and it leaves those extra bases of Serral very exposed here. You know, he's really kind of unable to see attacks necessarily coming towards him, especially as currently SpeCial holds both watchtowers as well. So he has a lot of map control on his side, SpeCial, and that's something that really will help him going into larger fights later in the game and taking those positions.
Yeah, that really helps Hellion run bys continue to do damage. Once the creep spread sees it a mile away, it's not going to do anything. But another attempt at taking that top base is an immediate kill. I think that's 2 hatcheries at least killed up there for trying to build anyways. Hellions getting a couple of drones to the south as well. These Hellbats not going to do too much. Everything was there anyways.
Yeah, those drones actually stacked up a little bit because they pulled away from a Liberator already, I think, and that allowed those Hellbats to get a couple more kills than I thought they would initially. To the top left, the last few roaches that are on the map are still just trying to find a couple of SCVs, just trade them out for something. At this stage of the game, the roaches really don't add anything to the army. You want the Hydras on the ground to help out against the air units, then it's about the Broodlords in terms of air to ground, and you got those Queens underneath as well, and you don't really have much room for anything extra in the supply.
Yeah, the roaches are just not a big deal anymore. They denied a couple of Hellion run bys, but on to bigger and better things. Hydras would be able to take care of this, but I don't think he realized there's only 2 tanks up there, so now they're kind of waffling and dying to it. Now they're pushed to the north, really SpeCial playing an almost bio-like mech with small pushes every which way that I'm sure Serral would be like expecting if it was bio, but here is having a bit of trouble against.
A few more drones going down here, and then this is really kind of, it feels like the games that SpeCial excelled in yesterday, right? Just expanding a lot, killing this base again and again, and just keeping Serral limited on the number of bases he's allowed to get. This ghost count is scaring, they're cloaking up, and those Broodlords are gonna start getting sniped down.
Ooh, nothing to stop the snipes from coming down. The Broodlings weren't even on top of them. There are some Overseers, so the cloak is not so much an issue, but there's so many Broodlords that more snipes had to go down. Get another 4 or 5 Broodlords, only 3 are left. Blinding Cloud to try and help out, but spells won't matter for that. And that was a pretty nice trade. I believe this base is going to die now, as Serral's probably like, I did not expect Mass Ghost Liberator to be the composition I had to face.
Yeah, it's really kind of weird for him still, as we're going to be seeing him just have to give up this space as well, apparently. He starts out on a few extra infestors, maybe realizing just how many ghosts there are, knowing that those fungal groves, they can come down on the ghost and they can cancel snipes, because all it takes to cancel a snipe is damage on the ghost. At the same time, Serral's across the map, suddenly he's finding some Hellions, he's going to find a planetary forest. Feels like one of the first times a special is actually losing out on a base.
Yeah, I think that was a nice move. Taking on that army with how well set up it was, everything was siege, would have been a little too dangerous. So they both pulled back after killing a base, but Serral arguably like the one needing another base as special is continuing to expand to the north side. Serral's lost like 4 hatcheries, is trying to build them. But the infestors, yeah, that's a great point. I thought maybe he'd get them when he first saw the ghost, but honestly, in his mind, he was probably like, 2-3 ghosts. Like,
yeah,
I can do other things.
Too, right? Like,
yeah, I can do other things about that. A couple banelings maybe collide, the broodlings target fire. When it's that many ghosts, the fungal is probably the better way to go.
Liberator has a little bit of a journey through Spore Crawler and will be finished by the Queens as well. Special just not really able to get much harassment done with the Liberators, which is something that Serral has just been so on top of, and it's so difficult to keep dealing with them when they can really just show up in any base at any time. So that's something he's done very well. And look at the number of Liberators actually here, by the way, for Special. That is insane.
Oh boy, I feel like spellcasters are an answer here, but of course EMP, the other spell on the ghost, has to be something Serral is worried about. The infestors will clump, the vipers will clump, yet those are the answers to ghosts and liberators, abducts or parasitic bombs. One fungal does go out, just grabs a single ghost, however.
Powerful position right now for Special. I mean, it's basically 2 choke points because of this big kind of blockade in the center. So it's very difficult for Special to really be able to, very difficult for Serral to be able to engage into this army. I'm not sure how exactly he's best going to go about it. This poor ghost goes down to the spine crawler. Journey's just a little bit too far forwards here, but you can see that Serral does not really want to fight, but at some point he's going to have to find a way to.
No one wants to push into each other. It really is quite a stalemate here. The ghost push forward and get clumped to get fungal. That's terrible. Meanwhile, for Special, if he pushes forward but doesn't protect it correctly, he gets abducted, which is what we just saw. But I do believe Serral has the worst choice. I think he might have to give up another base here.
Yeah, that's the issue, right? He's got a base to lose if those fungal growths do come down on some of the ghosts, stopping them from getting the snipes off. And maybe is this the time for Serral to engage? Well, it seems as though he still doesn't want to, making so many more Hydras, but how much longer can he just sit here without actually attacking?
Well, the ghosts are mostly taken care of. Well, no, a couple more snipes are going to go down. The fungal was late, so the Broodlords die. But the Vipers have so much energy, they're going to abduct the rest of the ground. And the Liberators, well, they're not dying, they're also not advancing, but the base already went down, and perhaps it would just be better for Serral to leave and come back another time. Liberator Anti-Air does not do much damage, so it's funny to see a Broodlord die to it.
Yes, Serral also wants to protect the bottom right-hand side as well, though, because that's only one of his only really kind of leftover mine bases. Oh my god, those Liberators are killing so many Hydras that are just sat in range. Serral somehow, after losing so much, is still keeping his supply right up there with Special. And he's starting to pick up a couple of units over to the left side as well, but those Liberators are just so difficult to deal with at the moment.
What really would have been good here would be some Corruptors. I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know, with the Ghost finally gone and Special not remaking them, a couple of Corruptors that have swooped in here, even with these Vikings now undone, much better than trying to force the Hydras to do the job. Serral, though, keeping his head above water, while this looks very scary for him, Special is not banking a ton. This is not like a freebie for him where he just continues to remax with the same composition. It's quite expensive.
There's a lot of Vipers, though, and so if you can just start abducting those Liberators, if suddenly they all go down, Special supply is going to plummet, and neither player is really rich enough to build anything else once again. You can already see Serral is starting to pick off some of those Liberators, create a bit of a supply differential here. I mean, there's just no answer now if those Libs get abducted, because they can't just straight up fight these Hydras very easily.
Yeah, the spellcasters, and this specifically the Viper spellcaster, was the answer. Just get enough of them, hope they don't get EMP'd with no ghost. That wasn't a problem, and they will take care of most of what Special had. Additionally, Serral just finally found a path that wasn't covered by Liberator zones. Like, he finally got around them, because they would take out so many. So Special kind of just cut down to the beginning. He's at 130 supply. He's having a lot of difficulty remaxing, even on Hellion. So he's just really trying to buy time and deal some economic damage to the south base. But a couple spine crawlers really not making this too bad.
I love that little dance of the drones left and right as the Hellions decide which spine crawler to run past closer to. Serral right now is out on the map. It feels like it's been a little while since Serral's really felt the confidence to move out here. But again, he did end up killing off a lot of tanks. He got rid of the ghost count. A lot of Liberators fell as well, Special hadn't pulled them away, and suddenly Serral's going to find himself a base up here he can get rid of, and well, that's a planetary going to go down, and suddenly Special is losing economy of his own.
Yeah, this was kind of a freebie base for a really long time. There wasn't any action from Serral up there, but finally taking that one down, and then also the south. Now Special is in trouble. The Remax was so expensive and so slow too. Even though the Liberators can reactor, the Ghost cannot. That certainly Special is in trouble. Continuing to try and do something with the Hellbats, the Hellions, and the 5 drones go down. Not really the greatest. Liberator harassment as well. But this is still money being given away. Whether it does a nice amount of damage or not to the drone line, Special is still giving away 600 minerals. And in this situation, for the mech player, mech-ish, Special needs the minerals, not the gas. He has a ton of gas.
Yeah, very, very different to what it usually is. We've seen the behind us getting picked off here on the watchtower. Real late game clash between two titans at the moment, as Serral, remember, is just one map away from that grand final placing.
At this point, I think he's going to get it. Don't want to call it too soon, but Special, he finally has a big enough army to contend again. Serral took it out once, and I think he might even have a better idea this time of how to do it again. There still are no Corruptors, and I think he lost all the Infestors too without replacing them. Now has 2 Infestors, 2 Great Fungals, followed by 12 Vipers worth of spells. I think Serral would win that fight.
Serral doesn't have anything to rebuild with, though, and that's something he was doing a lot in the last game, but mostly because he was in a tough position and he lost a lot before he decided what he really wanted to do. But he really has no room for error here, because if he messes this up, and he can just losing 10 Hydras right now, he cannot really afford to replace that. A base coming up at top just in time to maybe start giving him some of that extra economy that he might need. But at the same time, though, he might lose this base at the bottom right because there's 4 going at it, and Serral just doesn't have access to the south side. He isn't going to fight in this location once again, and maybe that's the biggest thing he learned from that last fight.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one. He's just like, okay, you'll take that. It was a little too messy for me to be comfortable, but the big difference is that he also lost this base too, which didn't happen last time. But the top left planetary finally going to go down. Blinding Cloud makes it so he doesn't even lose any Hydras for it, and this is going to become quite scrappy. Special does choose to go back home to defend, but his army very slow. I don't think they would take this planetary for very long.
Yeah, I feel as though he should abduct those couple of tanks in the back, as those Hydras having a little bit of a tough time. The SCVs are actually keeping it alive for a little while. Now the Liberators arrive. He might get a couple on his way out, but of course he doesn't want to spend too long fighting as this casts come down as well from those Ghosts. That's a couple of Viper kills, and again, Serral cannot really afford to rebuild those en masse at all.
Yeah, they both can't afford to lose these expensive armies. You know, there's no real remax for either one. Special was able to keep that planetary alive, was very important. Also saved all the SCVs, I believe. While Serral took 16 drones worth of damage, and this base is very important mining base. Even he so desperately wants to keep it alive, is putting Spine Crawlers is under heavy fire.
Blows coming forward, there's still just a few Ghosts here, and it looks as though they have the energy to get rid of these Broods, all but one of them going down. I mean, a few Corruptors added in. That Fungal Growth just saves the Broodlord at the last moment. Is that Ghost going to fall? It does, with the Broodling coming down at the end. And here we go. Serral's had enough. He's starting to push forward. Just Blinding Clouds on the initial set of attacks and abducting every single Liberator. It feels as though Special's already just killing way too much in all of this.
Oh, that is so many more Ghosts. And the tank line went so far that even though there were more Blinding Clouds, it probably would have been worth it for the Hydras and Special. Oh, that was a good fungal, though. All of those Ghosts that reinforced got fungaled, but not all of them died. They still have that energy for continued snipes, maybe some EMPs finally as he scans, see that most of the Vipers are still alive. And Serral is in a lot of trouble. The second remax of this composition is working for Special.
It is indeed, and just this time Serral has no answer, right? You just have to have a south side. That's a huge EMP on the Vipers. Suddenly there's nothing left on those, and GG, Special will fight back, taking a game in this series.
It was an awesome fungal, but an even better EMP. Well done from Special. That was a tough game, though. It was a bit wonky, but in the macro sense, for sure. And Serral had a couple of great answers. He just eventually didn't have the economy for it.
I think it was just, again, what we saw from Special yesterday really coming through for him, being able to expand a lot, stopping the Zerg from ever being able to attack his bases for a long time, and just keeping the Zerg pinned back on, you know, this time it wasn't 3 and 4 base, it was 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, but then he made sure to keep on attacking while mining so much himself, and eventually it really did come down to the fact that his army was just a little bit better, and Serral sort of needed 2 waves to clean it out, but didn't have the money for 2 waves of units on that last fight.
No, I didn't. Now we are going to be going into Acid Plants, so still a rather large map. I guess the jury's still out on whether this is better for mech or for bio. That's going to take at least a few weeks before that's really concretely set. I do wonder if SpeCial continues with the macro game, which I was hoping to see, I enjoyed seeing, or does he go back after resetting the momentum a little bit here to something a little bit weird, like Liberator range or something like that?
I mean, whatever he chooses, he cannot afford to make a wrong step, right? He is still down in this series. It's still match point for Serral. I mean, in a way, you kind of just tempted, I think, to go for the macro game, right? Don't take any risks that Serral can maybe hard counter with a Nidus, or just by scouting very well, for example. That's something he fell apart to when he played against Snoot. So just maybe just sit back, you know, a little bit of an attack early to put some pressure on, start expanding and play that macro game, because really, that seems to be where he plays the best.
It does. These guys are just titans, though, batting over a macro game. Serral, even though he eventually lost that game, I watched some of those engagements and I was like, how does anyone control against that many Liberators, against the tank cover, the micro equally good on the Terran side? That was just insane from both parties.
I couldn't believe he actually cleaned up the first attack on that south side. Eventually, it took a while, but he did get there in the end, and the game went on. It's time for the next one.
Yeah, that's kind of what made me convinced that Serral's just magic, but he ended up losing it. So we are here in the fourth game. This guy in the top left is still up 2-1. It is the Blue Zerg, Serral.
To the bottom right-hand side, our red Terran player keeping this series going. It is SpeCial.
Not quite over yet. We do have what looks to be that forward wall off once again, like we saw in Blackwater, but that ended with a Nidus Storm. I'm not sure the same thing will happen here. A lot of these new maps do have quite the large main base, though. I think there's a lot of opportunity for something sneaky.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of main base to look at, right? And that means there is a possibility of maybe SpeCial just not having a deeper in the side, especially as these maps are kind of new. You don't think about having that vision. Suddenly there's a Nidus on the edge. You didn't see it coming, and you know, before you actually get anything in position, there's already 10 roaches and queens out attacking all of your SCVs. So it's interesting. And obviously, the new maps really threw a bit of a new dynamic on this entire tournament so far. Honestly, I think we've seen pretty great games on them.
As we do have macro openers for both players, talk about the map a little bit more. When I first saw this, I immediately was like, this is a map that seems designed to stop the Zergs from getting the easy surrounds. It is possible, of course, but not so big on the concaves, no open middle of the map, and then any wraparound paths like we used to have on Abyssal are really far away from each other. So it'd have to be a very long foretelling of a surround, not a, oh, this would be a good idea. It would just be way too long to get around, and then you have rocks that can be broken down eventually, but I'm not even sure we've seen that happen yet on this map.
Yeah, I think if Serral wants to play this map to the maximum, if it goes later on, he's going to have to take down those rocks, open up those pathways, and just have units moving preemptively, getting them ready to go in from different angles. Just has to think a little bit ahead, but hey, if anyone can do that, it's definitely going to be Serral. As we do see the Reaper about to arrive, let's see if SpeCial can repeat his success on Backwater, which was a couple of link kills with this Reaper.
I like that Serral sends that drone out basically immediately. Every single time SpeCial's Reaper has gone for the link kills, which it's cool and all if you get them because, yeah, you're not supposed to lose them technically, but it's more annoying for the Zerg when the Reaper goes directly to the third and then catches the drone and kills it. That is the most annoying.
Yeah, it's awful when that happens, and then if you don't have the drone already over there, so the Reaper tries to get a creep to him, but it doesn't, and it falls. Small mistake there. Well, that Reaper will not be going in to try and stop drones moving to the third or anything like that. Shut down easily, as you're going to be seeing SpeCial swapping that factory onto the reactor here. Of course, for Serral, he doesn't quite know exactly what's going on, but doesn't need to just yet either. I mean, this is super standard for now, and starport in the main base.
Serral have a better chance reading this than SpeCial right now has reading the game, as he did not see the third base, but the assumption is there. So far, it's been 3 base games, even if it didn't turn into a Nidus Worm. And it is a correct assumption. So SpeCial, perhaps just feeling safe in his guesswork and continuing on to do what he does best. Seems to be the 1-1-1 opener.
Yeah, going into that starport, finishing up now, so we'll see what comes out of it this time. Straight into the Liberator, with a couple of Hellions just continue to come out from the factory for now, so wait to see what it turns into from here, of course. I mean, there's so many ways you can follow up from this. You can go mech, you can go bio, and that's really what we've got to look at here as to how does SpeCial try and take this 4th game of the series.
Well, I'm quite excited. I feel like this isn't going to end before 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And those macro games have been pretty darn cool. Serral had the one gotcha moment, but does he have another one? SpeCial have another one. Those ghosts were quite the surprise, and certainly if it happens again, I think Serral will go into infest a little bit quicker. But Hellions run past Queens, see some open drones. Not really that many, and 2 build cancels will save 2 of them.
Nice preparation here from Serral as well. He just already has the Bale Nest on the way up because he isn't 100% sure of just how aggressive this is going to be. Catching a couple of Hellions here is nice as well, getting them low on health. So if this was a Hellbat attack, that would be quite nice. For us down the ladder, this isn't looking to be kind of a big Ling Bane attack. Maybe looking to pressure, you know, maybe he could put on some pressure if he finds that opener, if he kills those Hellions, he could counter, but very unlikely. More so just really making sure nothing is going to kill him at the moment.
And there is an armory on the way, but see how much SpeCial commits to it. Liberator is simply pushed away by a couple of Queens. Hellions try to get to the 3rd base, but there are more Queens and more Lings over there, so nicely done defense-wise for Serral. See what that lair turns into. I wanted to see Ling Bane, Ling Hydra last game. I talked about how Roaches can sometimes be like an easier guesswork game. You don't have to worry so much about it being a game of run-bys. But it just could depend on whether or not Serral thinks SpeCial is going to go into mech.
I actually love to see some Ling Bane Hydra against mech here because it's a super fun way to play. It's like, you could just have to kind of hit with wave after wave, and it's just constant action, and the Terran has to keep on defending and try and tech up as well, while the Zerg eventually obviously wants to tech up too, because Ling Bane Hydra mid-game tech comp doesn't last forever. It really just creates, it's just so crazy, because I remember it was back in July last year that Rogue really started to do this and really make kind of Ling Bane Hydra against mech a thing, and since then we've just seen such variety in all of the TVZ compositions.
In the past metas, occasionally if the person did go mech and you were preparing for it as a Zerg, it was like, oh, this person's just dead, all right then. But not so much anymore. If you do Ling Bane, Ling Hydra, you have a decent shot. And in some ways, it's even the better composition when you have these mech players that love their Hellions and immediately transform into Hellbats. The Balings are actually quite effective. But we'll get into, I guess, the more specifics about that style when we see the engagements happen, as it is mech versus currently Ling Bane, Ling Hydra.
And Serral's already changing things up from when he played Ling Bane Hydra back on Neon Violet Square. Back then he had double melee upgrades, and now he's got missile upgrades, so already something which is a little bit more effective against mech. Having the missiles will do a bit more, because you're going to be a bit more reliant on the Hydra damage output than anything else.
Double Thor's coming out here. Certainly it's something we haven't seen yet is SpeCial's Double Thor Micro, but I don't see medevacs. So
yeah, he's not got the medevacs to sort of drop him around and try and be a little bit annoying, although there they are. I guess they'll line up quite nice. Force take a pretty long time to build, so going to be a little bit of an attack here, and he could turn this into the sort of Hellbat 4 attack like we've seen a few times now and then, which can definitely catch a Zerg off guard and trade well if they don't have enough Banes.
Yeah, if they don't think they need Banes, they think that they have the Hellion harassment under control and that Hellbats are not a worry, or if they only went for some safety Roaches, which obviously Serral didn't do, but happens, then that attack can be quite sudden and quite surprising. I feel like it's been a long time, though, since I've seen that Hellbat Thor attack do severe damage, but it's always that potential.
It's one of those situations where you just want to kind of throw a few Hellions away, really, as the Terra player. It's like, well, I've got a lot of these. Let's at least force some units and maybe do something. It's not the end of the world if I lose these mineral-based units. Because here we go. SpeCial gets set to go into this. He's got a huge army supply lead already, by the way, going into this. I mean, Serral evens it out now as he starts with a bunch more Hydras, and he will have +1 against +1. He's got Hydra speed and Bane speed, so that's going to be great. He needs those Banes to connect very well on those Hellbats, though.
This is the specifics I was trying to bring up. Now we're going to see it. If you keep your Hellions in Hellbat, or, well, hold on here. A little bit of an SCV run by is going to distract, and it is Hellbats. I was going to say Hellbats, something where you don't want them to clump up. Not enough Banelings, though. All the Banelings just died, but there's so many Hydras that it might still be okay. Serral going to take some damage, however, dealing equal amounts of damage, perhaps, with 10 SCVs going down.
He maybe could have targeted a medevac there, which stops one of the fours getting away, but he gets rid of the Hellions and the Hellbats. A few Hellions a little bit misplaced as they ran in from the right-hand side, and that definitely wasn't good because SpeCial lost those so quickly. Serral turns this around while also being the play to not lose any workers, and SpeCial lost 10 to that run-by.
That was a nice run-by. That's, I don't think that would have changed whether SpeCial morphed into Hellbats immediately or not, but there is a pretty cool just potential where you don't turn them into Hellbats, you keep them as Hellions and you run everything down or just kite them away. It can be quite nice, but Hellbats, if they're clumped, the Banelings hit, or if they're snowballing over Hydra as well, it's kind of a numbers game then. And it certainly was. Serral, still very far ahead in that supply after taking out so many Hellions, is pushing forward. He's got +1 missile, he's got the speed upgrades for all of his units, and he is looking for an attack. He grabs a medevac full of Hellions, and that is SpeCial's first sign of this attack.
Yeah, well, here we go. The first wave of this Link Vein Hydra gets ready to roll in. A couple of baits to the right-hand side. SpeCial responds, though. But the real fight's over here right now as SCVs are pulling into this Archie help defend. But the Banes are going to go after them. And so many SCVs going down as Serral just seems to have so much. Falls going down, tanks going down. And it looks as though Serral is busting his way through to the grand finals.
No, that is it. Serral takes the 3-1 over SpeCial, and we'll have ourselves a PVZ Finals, Europe against Europe.
Wow. What a way to end that series. Just out of nowhere, almost that burst of power from the Link Vein Hydra, and that's what it's so good at. Just suddenly out of, again, just nowhere, right? One moment, SpeCial's attacking. He's looking great, but Serral just had way too much. Very well done, as we do have our winner on stage now with Anna.
Thanks, guys. Serral, you looked so strong. You must be feeling amazing. Tell us what's going through your head right now.
Yeah, I'm super happy, like always. And I felt like I played really good, so yeah, I'm happy.
What do you think is the thing that you did most right in this matchup? What were you so prepared for that you were able to come out on top versus SpeCial?
Well, I think I got a bit lucky that he went bio the first game because I really wanted him to play bio against me because my versus mech is a bit weaker. And I had the second build prepared, so I got like 2-0 lead very easily. And then he started playing mech and I lost the second game. And yeah, I think that went well for me that he played the bio the first game.
I get the sense that you've been very prepared and very methodical as you go through this tournament. You've put a lot of thought into the opponents you're going to face. Now you move into the finals versus Showtime. Do you feel prepared for that?
Yeah, it's always nice to play against Showtime. I play a lot in ladder, so we have had a lot of nice games and can't wait to play him in the finals now.
Before that, even just being here, being in the finals is a huge accomplishment. What does it mean to you to be at this point in the tournament for WCS?
Obviously, it's really big for me, but I really want to get that BlizzCon belt right now.
Well, what do you have to say to your fans as you move forward into the finals, those watching at home and here in the audience?
I think most of you are probably cheering for cheering for Showtime, but please cheer for me as well.
I think we can do that, can't we? Congratulations, Serral. Back to you at the desk.
An amazing series played by Serral as he advances on to the grand finals here at the WCS Leipzig. We saw a bit of everything here, gentlemen. We even got that spooky mech from SpeCial as he tried to pull things back, but it wasn't quite enough with the pew-pews.
SpeCial called got the Ghostbusters out for that game 4, though. Serral with a 3-1. I honestly thought that SpeCial would do a lot better in that series. I thought it would be a lot closer, but the games that Serral won were extremely convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Serral just a little too solid. I think this is kind of what we come to expect of him. We talked about him for a long time as this player who had potential and who had yet to realize it. He makes the grand finals here, and we're going to have a new champ between 2 Europeans, by the way, I'll have you know.
Rest in peace, North America.
Hey, last time, Neeb, 3 victories for North America. I think it's time for Europe to shine a little bit.
It's still a great story though for the first WCS event of the year. You have Showtime, who was not the talk of the town last year. It was a lot of other players getting up there, mostly Neeb, especially for the Protosses. But we also talked up Serral a long time. We hyped him up. He got very close, and now it's his opportunity to either be like, "Yes, I'm here and I'm ready to go," or it's Showtime saying, "I'm back, baby."
Absolutely, both Serral and SpeCial actually they have been searching for that WCS title for a while now. Sadly, SpeCial won't get it this time, but one of Serral and Showtime will now be able to get that. And I think like it's great to see things changing a little bit. As cool as it would have been to see Neeb have success as well, to have one of these guys getting locked this early in the year also kind of means that obviously they're going to be able to take it a little bit more easy, the rest of the year, play without stress. I'm sure they'll still be looking to try and take part in those WCS Circuit tournaments. Whereas like for Neeb, even though he didn't make it here, like obviously not going to win the tournament, he's already eliminated, I feel pretty safe he's going to make the global finals anyway during the rest of the year.
He'll be there.
It's awesome that WCS is so competitive. We look at the finalists. It is going to be Showtime versus Serral. But nobody would have been surprised if it ended up being a NEEB special final. The top 4 here are extremely competitive. We know all of these players will definitely be making deeper runs in further tournaments, and I think we expect to see guys like a Laser and all of them getting in here. But here is the final bracket for the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. It's all filled out. The only question now is who gets that seed of the global final in 20,000 dollarinos. We'll be finding out very soon. This is the World Championship Series. We'll be back after this break.